It's live there too. Then it should go. Welcome. This is a very exciting conversation that I've been dying for a couple of weeks. Joining me is the beautiful Lauren McWilliams. Sorry, Lauren. I've just been talking to my friend Laura, so that's my get out. But we are going to be talking about Lauren's change story, and it's got an interesting title, which Lauren will unpack, from prison to photography. As ever, these episodes that we are chatting about is introducing how change changes you, because we're all in a constant flux of change. And so all of these conversations that I'm having are really designed to illustrate how we can navigate change, how it makes us stronger, what we can learn from it. And I am sure that you're going to find lots of inspiration from Lauren's story today. So I'll throw it over to you, Lauren, and you can introduce yourself to the lovely people that are tuning in.
So thank you for having me on this. I've been really excited to have a chat because I absolutely love working with you. So yeah, my name's Lauren McWilliams. I'm a brand photographer and visibility strategist. I've been in business now for 5 years, and before that, my degree was in criminology, and then I went on and did my master's in criminology. So that's where the prison side of it comes from. I guess I was like so passionate. I've always been a very passionate, very driven, ambitious person. To kind of like from year 9, I was looking up at universities that I wanted to move to Newcastle. Wow. And I wanted to be here, and I really wanted to be studying because I was just excited about being involved in university life, I guess. And part of that was because I wanted to help people, and that's where the criminology side of things came from, of watching. Do you remember what, I think it still is a show, but what's it called now? Criminal Minds.
Oh, yes.
I got really like tied in with that. I used to watch it with my grandma, and I was hooked. And I was like, I want to do something like that, and I want to help people. And I fully committed to it. I was doing hundreds, if not, I've definitely done hundreds of hours of volunteering. I also was paid to work in the probation service. I did a full year's placement working in prison. Absolutely loved it. And I just thought, right, I'm definitely on the right career path. I was doing all the right things, tick all the boxes of it has to work out. And I'd put a lot of pressure on myself during that time as well, of making sure that I'm getting the qualifications, the experience going hand in hand with each other. And it just didn't go that way, unfortunately. Something happened along the way where in my last job, I was working in a hostel, and in there was kind of experiences that were just so eye-opening and really, really tested me. And I think it was at that moment where my own mental health was affected by it, and realising that I needed to make some sort of change, but I didn't know what to do, and that put a lot of pressure on me as well.
Yeah, it makes total sense as well, Lauren, because I think I'm sure a lot of people resonate with what you're saying, because I think when you invest loads of time, study, energy, cost into a particular career path, and then you find yourself in there, and then suddenly go, hold on, this isn't what I thought it would be. And then you start questioning, oh my God, have I gone wrong somewhere? And then especially, as you'll share, when you're in an environment that isn't maybe, lighting you up, isn't supporting you, then, it's that thing of, I guess, as we now know, and as we'll probably talk about, is how life can sometimes kind of send you some signals to
definitely
to do
and you
changes.
don't necessarily know what they are during that time, like when things aren't going to plan. I think I was so focused on, well, this is what I've committed to and this is what I need to do, so even if it's making me feel really bad and not me, because I'd lost all my confidence during that time, I still was committed to feel like I can't fail at this. And I felt like a massive letdown to myself, to my family, to my friends. And I was kind of ashamed of it as well for quite a long time. It took a while to get past that. But I'm so glad that I got to a point where you go through, I guess it's those stages, so similar to grief, where you go through those stages, and when you come through the other side, it's not necessarily really clear straight away of what's happening, but over time, as you're going through that healing process of making decisions for yourself and then seeing what other possibilities are available and taking those opportunities, and each little thing that's happened since then, I just feel like a totally different person, so much more confident, so much more happier, meeting people that are more connected, I guess. And I just feel really proud of everything that's happened since then.
It's strange, isn't it, looking back of where you're in that dark place, right? When you're in the void, or the pit of shit, as I like to nickname it, where you just can't see a way out almost, because like you say, there's a lot of shame in that, oh, well, I'm attached to being this, having this role, having this career, and it becomes part of your identity. And I think once that starts to question, then, you know, it just makes you question your identity. At that point, how did you then navigate, like if somebody's listening to this going, oh my God, I think I might be there, like I'm in a place where I'm not enjoying my work, and maybe it's in a environment where they're surrounded with people who are not supporting them and they're not feeling very fulfilled. How can you remember navigating that part to get to the acceptance piece?
100% it was the people who were around me. So not necessarily people in that place, but my friends who were closely supporting me at that time, my family, my now husband, but was at the time fiance, boyfriend even, of being where they could recognize that I wasn't myself, and they could see that I wasn't happy, but I didn't recognize it for me. I couldn't see it because I was in the pit
in
of
the middle
shit.
of it.
Like literally the eye of the storm. That even when people were saying, like, you've got to make that choice for yourself, whether it's a really, really toxic environment or a really like bad experience that you're going through, or if it's something, you know, you just think that the job's not fulfilling anymore, or it's not quite where you wanted to be. You have that choice, but it's about making sure you're listening to the right people in those moments, and making sure that it's the closest people to you that are the right ones to kind of like be supportive, to listen to you and not just judge, because sometimes you don't want the judgment or you don't need the judgment. But you do need to kind of reach out. Where do you get your inspiration from? How are you taking a step back? Because a lot of the conversation I realized when I was in that moment was that's all I would talk about. And I didn't recognize that until afterwards. So any conversation with friends, with family, it's all about work. And it was because I was trying to cope with it and I didn't know that was happening. But making sure you've got the right supportive people around you and kind of sharing those experiences of what's really going on, because they're the ones who are going to be there when you make that decision, whether it's to move away or whether it's to try something new and see what happens, and have that kind of comfort blanket knowing you're not doing it alone.
Oh my God, that's so important. So important, because I think when you are going through a bit of an identity crisis, and that's, you know, certainly we've shared, your story resonates with some of my change story, you start to question yourself. And I think that's why it's so important to have those around you that love you, to kind of reflect back to you that, look, we care about you and we're noticing this, this and this. And, you know, I often think, you know, when you're in the eye of the storm, it's almost like when you're sat inside the jar, you can't read the label because you're in it and you can't see it. And it's not until you're further down the line that you reflect back and go, oh, yeah. Oh.
That's it. I think it was like a year, maybe 2 years after that I fully looked back and thought, wow, I didn't quite realize like how bad it was. But, you know, it could be not even just that job, in other places, other career points where I've tried something. You're in control. And I think we've had conversations about this privately before where, you know, sometimes you see people and they've been in a career for such a long time that they think that they have to stay there, but you don't. Like, if that's not serving your passion, your purpose, and you don't feel fulfilled, the worst thing that you can do for not just yourself, but everyone around you as well, is to stay there, is to stay in that place of unhappiness, because nothing's ever going to change. Like, you've got that power to be able to do that. And yes, I'm not saying that's an easy decision to make.
No, it's not.
You've got to have the right people around you to support you to make the decision, but it is yours.
Yeah, and it's not linear. I think that's probably the other thing to say, is it? It's not a straight line. It's not a simple A to B. And it varies per person because it depends where you are, what's going on in your life. So for you, Lauren, when you got to that place where you were like, right, enough, like something's got to change, and it sounds like you kind of got your power back a little bit. What happened then?
And I think I was looking for somebody to tell me what to do in that time, because I knew in the heart of hearts, I knew what the right thing was to do, that I needed to walk away. But I needed somebody to kind of like point me in the right direction and say it's okay and give me permission to do that. And it took a while, but then I think there was a new opportunity there was an organisation in North Tyneside that were helping businesses to start up. I didn't have any experience about running a business, didn't have a clue where to begin, but I seen it and I thought, what have I got to lose? I'm just going to try it. It's free. Give it a go and see what happens. And it was the best thing I could ever have done. Like, I learned so much from that, and I just went in with an open mind, then started meeting people, started meeting more entrepreneurs, that I realised, I think that's where the passion came from for wanting to work with business owners rather than just general photography and doing everything, was that they all had a story as well to tell. And it was that you don't just wake up one day, you're not just born to be a business owner. Like, something usually has happened along the way. So that could be something's happened to you personally and you want to make a change in your industry. It might be that you want to follow your passion. So as a creative, like, I loved taking photos, so I thought, well, I could give it a go. People keep saying like they like my photos. I don't know if anyone will buy it because there's the imposter syndrome creeping in, but I was just going to give it a go because I had nothing else to lose. And it was more and more people that I was meeting that were saying similar things. And I loved hearing those journeys, and I loved just connecting with them and relating to what they were going through, but seeing that they'd found something that was really, really special and found something they were passionate about, and they were following that and giving it a chance. And how much happier it made you. Like, having those conversations with people who just got it.
It's funny, you know, when you were sharing that, I had this image in my mind of like coming out of the dark and it getting lighter and lighter and lighter. And then it's, you know, often we sometimes talk about, sometimes you're planted in the wrong place. And I think sometimes you can kind of, you know, if you're not in the right place, then life will make you so uncomfortable that it will make you move. You know, it's kind of like, I had to make you uncomfortable, otherwise you wouldn't have moved. And sometimes the fear of continuing as you are versus the fear of the unknown has to kind of become greater, doesn't it, to spit you out of the side. But I love about what you shared is that something obviously caught your eye, and it's almost like you followed the sparks, you followed that little light of like, oh.
Yes, that was it, exactly. Every time I experienced that little bit of a spark, it just grew and it grew. And I think that's still been the case all the way through my journey of my business. I'm very, very passionate led, and I think like working with clients who are very similar to me and going through that experience, and I see that light bulb moment, and I see when they're excited about something, and it's like it's just a drive that you can't explain. It's like a feeling in your stomach that you get, and you think, wow, this is special, and you want to go for it. And I love capturing that as a photographer. And I also now support people to kind of like find what that is. So sometimes you think, I found something I really enjoy, but I don't really know how to kind of bottle it up or make it into something. And I really love that. And I think that definitely comes back down to the storytelling and probably understanding it from my own point of view of what helped me through that journey.
How do you think it's like, what did it teach you? Like when you're kind of, you know, looking back over those days of, you know, realizing how maybe low you got and how much you questioned yourself, to then finding and following the sparks, to then sitting now, seeing how your business is flourishing. And, you know, I know as well that you are organically growing and just continuing to follow that spark. when you look back, what did that strengthen in you? Well, let me ask you the first question. What did you learn about yourself along the way? Let's start there.
I think 100% it's that resilience and that bounce back of knowing, even when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, whatever that looks like for each person, it's different. But in my experience of hitting that rock bottom where I thought I couldn't see past next week, never mind visioning what my next 10 years is going to look like I found that really, really difficult. And each time I did something, whether it was a tiny little thing or it was a big thing, I celebrated it. And I made sure that I was connecting with the right people. So when I said at the beginning, having that support network was really important, that's kind of like grown and grown. And that is even more valuable to me than ever. Being able to meet the right people who are supportive, who are empowering, who inspire you as well, because I think that's been key for my own personal growth and development, to not just sit in the comfortable positions. I know that I'm resilient now, and I test myself, I challenge myself constantly. I've done things now than I've never have imagined 5, 6 or more years ago. I think even people who haven't seen me for a while just don't even recognize me anymore, because I feel like a totally different person. I'm the most confident I've ever been in my life, never mind in the last 5 years, ever. Like I would not stand in front of class and speak confidently because I would just be terrified of what will people think, and all those like imposter syndrome things of like, oh, I'll just sit at the back and I'll just keep quiet. And now I'm like, can I have an opportunity to speak? It feels amazing. I actually enjoy it. I would never have done things like this before.
Well, I know obviously when we first met through the NatWest Business Accelerator, you had shared a bit of your journey early on. And I know a lot of people said, oh, like, your confidence has just gone from strength to strength. And it almost reminds me of kind of, sometimes I think life is like a jungle gym, that actually it sees that you've got more to give. So it deliberately puts you in an uncomfortable situation to call to adventure, if you like, to kind of go, no, this way. And it seems to me that you took the call and you're continuing to do that. And actually, as I've seen, as you've just described, it's almost you're having compounding evidence to kind of say, do you know what, I can do hard things.
Yeah, I think that's it. Each time you prove it to yourself, you're not having to have that outside validation anymore where you're looking for that person to give you permission or that person to say, well done, you've done well. At school, I was always that person. I wanted the teacher to like me. I wanted the teacher to say, you're doing a really good job. And don't get me wrong, I still enjoy it when people say that. But I now say that to myself, which is a huge, huge difference. And it is very much that personal growth and development that you have to work on yourself. And that's came in lots of shapes and forms, from coaching, from learning new experiences and being open-minded, as I've met more entrepreneurs who have kind of shared their experience of what works for them. Some things work and some things don't. And it's just about being more playful with it and trying it out. And like I was just sharing before this call, I did my second C diff, which I never thought I would do. I would have hated that in the past, but you know what? It was such a good experience that has all opened up to me in this like new world because of the people that I'm meeting now.
Yeah,
I would have just never met them before.
Oh, totally. But what I love about what you share, and I think, for a lot of people where we get institutionalized in certain ways in our lives, like we've been a certain way because we're highly adaptive as human beings. And to go through that change I don't think any change is particularly comfortable. No. And I think that's where you do need the resilience. But something like sea swimming for me, because I am obviously a lover of the sea, and we were just talking about its healing properties, like the fact that it's nature, but it's also the cold exposure part, is actually physically putting yourself in discomfort, but just how amazing you feel out the other end. So it's like, no, actually I can go through the thing to feel amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's what I now teach in what I do for my program, to working with clients on a one-to-one basis. It's step into that uncomfort, because when you do that, you're fueled by that kind of like the feeling.
Yeah.
But then when you come out the other side and you see the benefits of that, so more people know about you, more people are celebrating you, and you think, actually, I didn't die, I was okay, I survived it, and you're telling your brain, you're reframing that, so then you do more and more things, and it just opens up so many new doors.
Yeah.
It's just such an amazing way to kind of visualize it as well, I think.
Yeah, it is, because it's step by step, isn't it? And we've talked before, I think entrepreneurship is personal development 2.0, because just when you think, oh, I'll feel more confident in my business when, as soon as you hit that bit, then you're on to the next bit, and then the next bit, and it's always something new to learn. There's always some more growth to do, and it's navigating, and everything. It's almost like there's no such thing as a mistake, right? It's that experimental part.
That's what I love about it, because there's no right or wrong answer. Like, yes, there's the finance part and things of business, but as a general rule, you could put out a service, and if nobody bites, you learn from it, and you tweak things, you speak to people, you ask questions, and then you put it back out, and then people are going to love it because you've involved them, rather than, actually, if I put this offer out and nobody bites it, that's my business over. There's so many different routes, and it's just about being open-minded and being curious, I think, is a big part of it.
Oh, it's a superpower for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. So if you could kind of have a ring old Lauren up, young Lauren, should I say, when she was on that journey out and she was maybe just starting to follow those sparks, what would you tell her? What does she need to hear?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. How blimmin' proud I am of her that she's going to be able to do those things, and how much more is possible. And just if she believes in herself, and like, she's surrounded by some incredible people, there's lots of exciting things coming our way, and I think it would be amazing to have that chat and remind her of that, or tell her it's happening.
Yeah, just kind of keep going, and just trust the process, right? That you
trust yourself as well.
Trust yourself, exactly. Yeah, it's one and the same, of just stay up and stay curious, and there's going to be amazing things. Because I think a lot of the time when we're in that place of darkness, we're tunnel vision, and we're often focused on the problem as opposed to all of the possibility that lies ahead of us that we just simply haven't seen yet. Like, we haven't met tons of people yet, we haven't co-created with tons of people, so it's all there for the taking. Just keep stepping forward, like even just tiny little steps,
and not having to look at anybody else to say what's right or wrong or where you want to go. You're in control of your own, and it sounds really cliche, but you are in control of your own destiny, of like what you want to get out of life. Like, make it happen. Like, you put the work in and it will happen. Believe in that, and it starts to kind of pan out. Whereas if you just sit there hoping, wishing, that's not going to change anything. But you definitely can do that. And if anything, I'm proof of that experience.
Well, that makes total sense now, given what you do and the space that you hold for business owners that are wanting to be more visible. You've walked that path yourself, right? So it makes total sense that you're then inspiring other people to do the same. When you think about then those incremental steps, how much of it is mindset and how much of it is action taking? What's that interplay for you?
I think I see it as like two key areas, and it definitely is mindset and the strategy. And then if I'm thinking about my other, like specifically with what I do, is the content as well. So usually as business owners, we all concentrate and panic over the content. I've got no ideas, I don't know how to share anything on social media. But actually the big part of that, stripping it right back, is the mindset part of, okay, so why do I feel like that? And it's usually those what if questions that come up. So what if everybody laughs at me? What if I get trolled? What if like I go live and I forget what to say? What if I go on this podcast and people go, what's she talking about? But instead flipping that on its head and thinking about, what if I go on this podcast and somebody sees this and is inspired to make some sort of change, and it helps them. So a really good example could be our networking that we've created together We Rise. The lady who came to it, and from listening to the stories, she went away and pitched for a new job, which was just incredible. And it's those kind of things. That's what I live for. Like, I love it because you're giving people a story, but they're choosing to take that action, and it is a mindset change that happens rather than just concentrating on the strategy and the content. So I think they equally all play into each other. You can't have a great strategy without having your mindset working, and like your energy being enough. So if you were launching something, for example, if your energy is really low, then you go to launch something, people are going to feel that and see it in the content you're putting out there. But if you launch something, you've got all the strategy there and you're working on your mindset and you think, I feel good about this and it's going to happen and I'm so excited about it, people pick up on that as well. And it has a massive, massive difference.
Yeah, no, and I love the example you gave. And like, certainly, for those of you who have attended our Together We Rise monthly networking events, the third one that we did just last Friday, that was very much around embodied confidence. It is like, how much is, mindset, action taking, but it is actually in your physicality as well, because it's that interplay, isn't it? I mean, you said yourself, you've put yourself in situations, talked in front of big groups of people, doing more podcasts, doing more speaking. What's that journey been like that for you in terms of, actually building that confidence to do things that you never thought you'd do?
The first few, when I'd gone live or done anything like that, or gone onto a podcast and I could hardly get my words out, I'd go red and blotchy, my neck would start flaring up and I'd feel like, I can't get my words out, I forget what I'm speaking about. And I think it's just practice of like every single time I did that, I thought, it's telling myself, right, I've done it, I know what I'm talking about. I found that in the past, what I used to try and do is have a load of notes written, but I've worked out that does not work for me. I would much rather just speak, because when I speak, it comes from my heart. And yes, it might not be perfect, but that doesn't matter. People don't switch off because it's not perfect. In fact, sometimes they love it more because it shows that you're a real person. Exactly. And the more evidence I've seen of that, not just for myself, but for my clients as well, I think the easier it's got. And as my confidence grows, it makes it easier, because I get really excited about talking about my clients, and I get really excited talking about my business and my journey, because I'm passionate about it. And the more I can't switch that off, it's there. So when someone asks me a question, whether that's in person, whether it's online, I immediately light up, and that shows. And it's just no pressure. Like, somebody weirdly said just before we came into this, I went, oh, by the way, I just need to go and record this podcast. I didn't know it was live. So I was like, I'm just going to go and do that. And they went, you're very, very calm. But it's because I hadn't built it up in my head, whereas I used to really think about it, and it would be days I'd be thinking, oh God, I've got this podcast, and I'd be sweating about it and thinking, am I going to say the right thing? But I knew that I'm coming to basically talk to somebody that I admire. So that always puts me in a comfortable place to be able to speak to you, because I just feel like it's a chat with my friend.
Totally.
And we've got a few key points along the way, and that's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's just reframing it in your mind that there might be nobody watching this, but there might be hundreds of people, and I don't mind, because right in this moment I'm talking to you, and that's it. Yeah. And that's the way that I look at it when I'm speaking on stage, whether I'm doing a podcast, whether I'm recording something live. Like, I'm speaking to one person, and that's either my ideal client or the person that's in front of me.
There you go. I love it. Oh, that's a soundbite right there that I will be editing.
Please do, because I'll use it as well.
Exactly, absolutely, totally. But I think I love the journey though that you share, Lauren, because it is from the heart, and I think a lot of the time we put an incredible amount of pressure on ourselves to be perfect, or to say the right thing, or to, I don't know, be kind of almost. We can take our strategic side almost to the nth degree, where we end up then really not being ourselves. And the irony is, the more at ease you can be with yourself, the more that you can actually open up to the fact that, you know what, I might fluff up some words. I might get some stuff like, you know, whatever. I might make some pauses, but it makes it more human.
Yeah,
and that's what makes you more relatable. Because, you know, otherwise, if we're talking like a couple of fembots, then we're probably not going to resonate with many people, right?
So that's it, exactly.
Yeah, giving yourself permission. So we've kind of gone through then, obviously, what that kind of has taught you, the fact that you went through that bit of the dark night of the soul, feeling lost, feeling like you weren't in the right place. It's ironic that actually something that the common thread of your criminology degree really came from a place of wanting to help people. And actually the common thread that runs through is that you're helping people still, but just in a different way.
100%. I think that once I worked that out, that was a huge way to kind of like take a bit of pressure off myself, that actually I still am helping people, just in a slightly different way, as you say. And I think that comes from time and experience, time to allow yourself to kind of understand that, and the experience of hearing from my clients, reading the testimonials, or just having conversations with people. Like somebody said earlier, she said that I changed her life, and I was like laughing about it. I said, well, that's a big statement to make. And she went, no, you genuinely helped me just feel really more comfortable, that I would never have done that before. And it's those kind of things that are just a reminder. And sometimes, especially as British people, we kind of like, oh God, don't say things like that.
Yeah, don't compliment me.
Yeah. And you shy away from it. But to be able to make a difference in someone's life, whether that's a little thing or whether it's a big difference, is still a change. It's still impact that you're making. And that might be for somebody to just have the confidence to press the live button. It might be that they go on and create a foundation of change, like whatever it is, like they're making some sort of impact. And that is something that is making a big part of my values. And it's something I want to work with more purpose-led, passionate people. And if I understand that and I keep that to the core of what I do in everything I do, whether that's speaking, whether it's actually working with my clients and having that as consistency, then I see it, and that's how I get my passion, I guess. And making sure that I'm still committed to that.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, I mean, one of the reasons, you know, we came up with our networking event is all around our shared values of collaboration, co-creation, championing each other, you know, co-creation over competition, that there's more than enough for everybody. And it's coming away from the scarcity mindset or this not enoughness to kind of go, no, hold on. I'm passionate about these things and I can see the potential in others. And I'm just actually going to support them and help them bring it out. I'm going to help spot it and then coach them and support them and give them the tools to be able to step into that. Which is, I mean, there's nothing greater in that feeling when somebody steps into their own power, is it? I mean,
you see it, and it really is priceless. Of like when the client shares their celebration, whether it's a tiny little celebration or it's a big celebration, I feel so proud of them. Like my heart flutters. And I always feel like that. Or even if it's somebody sharing a picture that they've, you know, that I've captured, I still get excited and still jump up and down every time I see it pop up on social media, because for them, I know the story behind it is usually because they were scared of having their photo taken in the first place. And now they're doing something completely out of their comfort zone, and they're owning it and they're celebrating it. And I see them flying, and it is priceless.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect, isn't it? And then they go on to put more good into the world, and it just flourishes from there. So it's I don't know, it's kind of, you know, it's starting a whole new kind of pandemic. That just
a good one.
A good positive pandemic. Yeah, exactly. So to kind of just come full circle, obviously, as we've just said, you know, growing your business and being open to the next thing and the next thing and enjoying the journey along the way. What has this kind of big chapter of your life of going from kind of criminology to photography, what has it strengthened in you today? And how is that going to influence you tackling kind of obstacles up ahead, do you think?
I think similar to what I was saying before, that reflection piece is really important, and I always say that to my clients as well, of like, it's so important to look back but not dwell in the past, but it is important to look back of how far you've come. Like, if you can do all of these things, what else is possible? And then I think seeing what's going on now and where you want to be, and visualizing that kind of like future, and that changes all the time. That was something I really used to struggle with. If somebody said, like, what does your future look like, what does the next 5 years or 10 years look like, I just couldn't. Whereas now I'm like excited, I've got so many ideas, I've got all these plans, and instead of having them all out at once, because that's the other thing I do, I get really excited and think, here's all the things. Instead, I'm now putting the strategy in place to be like, okay, this is happening then. And then after that's happened, I'm going to do this. And I think looking back, it's really just cleared everything in my mind to have a little bit of clarity of where I'm at, and being, again, comfortable with myself. I think the chaos of my mind has came from that uncertainty in the past, because I've not been really sure. And it's that always like doubting myself, whereas I don't doubt myself now, I trust myself. And I think that's been a big learning curve from the last few years.
Yeah, no, beautifully put. Exactly. I think it's what's really inspirational is that anybody listening who maybe is in a line of work or in a career that thinks, oh, well, I'm locked in now, I can't possibly do anything else. You know, Lauren is living proof that you can pivot and change. And I think it is the energetic side of it as well, to kind of look for what lights you up, look for where you have a visceral reaction to something. And I think that bodes well into just, if you are lost, then just be curious. That's just one thing that you can practice, to kind of go, you know what, I'm just going to maybe try a few things, get outside my comfort zone, just to kind of go, oh, that's interesting. Or I don't like that. Or I do like that. Because I think sometimes along the way we lose that as adults, right? Because we've got this pressure that we should have it all figured out by a certain age.
And we should do these things at this, like turning 30. So I've recently just turned 30, and that was a big milestone in my head because of what we hear. Like, there's films about it, there's your family talking about, wait till you hit your 30s and all of these things. And it's all the messages that we hear constantly. But why? Like, there's no reason for that. It's whatever you want to create out of it.
Exactly.
Like, I've done loads of stuff in my 20s that some people probably don't do till their 40s or 50s or older. And it's just different for every single person, and it's about what fits and what feels right for you. It's your life.
It's just that reminder. And I think, you know, a lot of the time we say these things that are cliched. They're cliched for a reason, because they're ancient things that people keep going back to. I think for a lot of people it's just like the how, because when you're in the middle of it, it's like, you know, give me the hand out kind of thing. It's I want to kind of get out of this pit that I'm in. For people that are curious, Lauren, to learn more about what you do, because I know that you obviously have your program at the moment, and I know you've got another one planned. Do you want to share with people, in case they're curious, to come and join you on things?
I would absolutely love for anybody to connect. So if you're on LinkedIn, Lauren McWilliams, and then if you are on Instagram, it's lauren.mcwilliams, and my website is laurenmcwilliams.co.uk. So all very, very simple, all my name. But yeah, please do reach out, say hello. I'm very sociable. Like, I love to meet people and to chat, not just to kind of connect and never talk to each other. So yeah, do reach out. It would be lovely to have a conversation. And in terms of like what I do, so the photography side of things, I offer brand photography. And then in terms of the program that we keep talking about is the Visibility Rebellion. So it's all about stepping into that uncomfortable place, in terms of business owners, coaches, getting yourself into opportunities, or working on your mindset. So Christina is actually our coach, so she works with you during that program. And then I also have all the strategy and the content, so coming up with ideas for reels, TikToks, launching your programs. There's loads and loads of content in there, and some really exciting details and updates coming soon, but I can't tell you about those yet. So yeah, please do connect, and thank you so much, Christina, for having me on your podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I just know that it's such an inspirational story, Lauren, and I can certainly say, you know, you do speak from the heart, and I think that's where a lot of people just have natural resonance. And for anybody who is listening to this and maybe feeling a bit stuck, what kind of thing would you say to them from your perspective, having just shared your story?
If I could go back during that time, I think I would have kind of listened earlier, and not left it to the last minute where it was kind of like burnout stage and really, really finding it harder to come out of. So I think I should have listened a lot earlier. And I know that it's different for everybody. So I think it's about, you know, not keeping everything to myself as well, because I did a lot of that. So actually reaching out to like close friends, family, people that you feel comfortable and trust to ask them and to share what's going on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really important point to make, because we've both talked about our burnout stories, and the fact of the matter is, the later you do leave it, the more painful it happens and the longer it takes you to recover. So it is just important, if anyone is listening to this feeling like they're at the end of their tether or they're being very self-critical, know that this isn't happening to you. It is happening for you, we promise. And there is help out there for people who just, you know, need to, navigate through this time, because it's, you know, I think and certainly we've talked about a lot of the entrepreneurs that we know, and a lot of the women that come to our networking event. Everyone tends to go through a bit of a dark challenge, and that's why the saying exists as well, of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But it's just when you're in that vacuum, it can just feel goddamn uncomfortable.
It's the ignition of like actually getting started. You need something to happen for it to step into that thing.
Exactly. And that's back to the resilience, as you say, and the bounce back. So marvelous. Well, thank you again, Lauren, for sharing your story. We'll make sure that all the links to contact you are below. And if anybody is curious to find out more about Lauren's Visibility Rebellion, then all of the information's on her website as well. So have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll catch you all soon. Lauren Eustace still. I'm going to end the stream now. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.